Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. I have some fun things to share with you today. If you are new here, my name is Lauren. I have a clothing line called Lauren Michelle. I've made videos in the past about some of my different sewing tips or tricks, or just my experiences related to fashion. But recently we purchased and renovated a Class C RV, and I have to take my work with me, so I'm sharing a little bit of that experience with you guys right now. So today guys, it's a little bit gloomy out. The sun called out sick, so not a good beach day, but I want to share with you guys one of my absolutely favorite things to do when it's gloomy and you feel like you're kind of stuck inside, and that is draping. I love to just put on a podcast or some YouTube or some show I've been wanting to listen to in the background, and I will just pull out the form and I'll spend the whole day draping. So whenever it is gloomy like this outside, it is an absolutely perfect day to catch up on some of your draping so that you can get your patterns done later. I recently mentioned that I had added some swimwear to my site, and I've been thinking about adding some caftans, so I'm going to drape a caftan today. A couple of little notes about that. If you don't know anything about draping, when I'm done doing the drape, you're not going to see an entire caftan on the form. We typically only drape on half the form unless it's an asymmetrical design, but in this case, the caftan that I'm making is going to be the same on both the left and the right side, so I really just need to drape one side because I know that they're going to be identical. I'm just going to show you, once I get started, some of the basics of getting started onto the form. I'm not going to go and cut out fabric or anything like that today because I like to think about it for a little bit. I like to drape. I like to come back, maybe tomorrow I'll look at it and think about, do I really like how this turned out? Do I want to start a new drape, or do I want to make some changes before I actually transfer what I draw out on the muslin onto a piece of paper to make an actual pattern that I will later use to cut out my fabric. Before we get into any of that, I want to give you guys two really quick updates. If you don't care about those updates, I'm going to try to add chapters to this, so feel free to just skip ahead. But for those of you who have watched some of the other videos, I want to give you guys an update first about the insulation in here. If you recall, I made the insulation for the windows. In here, I basically took two pieces of quilted fabric and made a little uncrustable, honestly, of insulation in order to house the reflectix, and then we velcroed it around the window so it's removable and washable. I also said that I was going to make some for the ceiling. I'm going to hold off on the one for the bathroom because we are going to end up replacing the fan in there. It just doesn't do anything, so we had the fantastic fan come in, so that'll be probably later on where I show you guys us replacing that. I'm gonna probably solicit some help for this because I don't want it to be the last video I ever make called Lauren Falls Off the Roof. So I will keep you guys posted on that front. But first, let's go take a look at the insulation version that I made for the roof vents. Okay, quick insulation update. So if you remember what I did to the windows, I basically did the same thing for the ceiling vents, and I think they're okay. I might just duck in and maybe add a little more Velcro to certain areas, but so far so good. So you know, it's a work in progress, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. So other update, super exciting. I had just enough left over from when I redid the curtains over by the dinette to redo the curtains over here by my office. So far, I think that they've worked out pretty well. I should have used maybe like a digital thermometer in order to track this better, and maybe I'll get one down the road. But just if the question is, do these actually work? Do they actually do anything? I would say yes. So before going to bed, I would have we have a little ceramic space heater, so I would turn that on, and I could actually get it up to probably like 70, 75 in here. So it'd be pretty toasty. And then waking up in the morning, the thermostat, the coldest that it reads is 50. So I know that people are probably like, oh, it's California cold or whatever, but that's pretty chilly for being inside, I think, at night. And I don't really know, it could have been 45 in here, because if it was in the low 40s outside, I don't really have a way of telling because my thermostat, like I said, only goes to 50. So after adding the window insulation in here, same thing, I got it up to that kind of 70, 74, 75-ish range. And waking up in the morning, so far I haven't, after adding the window insulation, I haven't seen it drop any lower than 60. So I would say that that's a success, and I will keep you guys updated, especially once I get maybe a digital thermometer in here. Second update. So I recently ordered some fabric. I've ordered from this company before, and in the past, unless I have just lost my marbles, which wouldn't surprise me, they have always shipped it to me via USPS priority mail. This time, however, I guess they were a little late shipping it, and I think they were just trying to be nice, and they FedExed it to me. Well, they were shipping it to my PO box. Okay, so I mentioned before that you cannot get anything sent to your PO box that comes via UPS or FedEx. The only people that have access to your PO box is USPS. So I was like, this will be a great experiment. We'll see how this turns out. I'm gonna see if I actually get this. And like I said, I want to make, if we're going to have any issues or make any mistakes, it's important to me while we're still not on the road yet. I want to kind of work those kinks out before we're in motion. So that being said, it took a really long time for me to get this package. So FedEx shipped it to a location nearby, and it sat there and it sat there and it sat there. And I was like, you know, you check the tracking and you're like, okay, where is this? And they're basically just like, we have no idea. It's taken forever. And then something popped up a couple days later saying that it had been transferred to USPS for delivery. So I did receive the package. Let me pull it up. It looks like it's literally been all over planet Earth, and I think that's probably because it has. They did transfer it, so there's two labels on here. I don't want to keep touching this, and it's actually pretty dirty. But there's two labels on here, so FedEx had to transfer it to USPS in order for me to pick it up at my PO box. So I've never had that happen before. I wouldn't count on that if you want to order something and have it delivered FedEx. I think there might have been some issue when I've tried to order things in the past that were going to come FedEx or UPS. It just said, oh, we can't deliver to your location. And I shared that before. I know Amazon for sure will do that. eBay will also do that. But this was a private company that I was ordering from. So I think there was maybe a little more human confusion in that. But so I got the fabric. So what I would say to you guys is don't count on that. I actually feel like maybe I got kind of lucky. I asked the postal worker about that, and she was like, oh yeah, no, I don't know. I guess they would have just had to transfer it. So she didn't know much more than I know right now. So if you're gonna get something that is FedExed or UPS, please just have it delivered to your campground. I also heard that there's certain UPS locations that if something is coming UPS, you can have it delivered to the UPS location. I believe there might actually be, I think it's like a $5 fee to pick it up. But if you're at a campground and you're going to go through all that trouble, just have it delivered to the campground, unless you're on like BLM land or something like that. And I'm pretty sure nobody's delivering out there. So I'm just sharing with you guys because I want you to know your options. And I know maybe the mail is not the most interesting thing ever, but for me, I was kind of nervous about trying to transition into the RV because in order for me to run my business, I do a lot of like sending out mail and receiving mail just for me to operate normally. I depend a lot on the mail, and I wanted to share that experience with you guys in case you had a little apprehension too. Let's get this fabric open. The scissors, I think I was sitting on them. So let's go ahead and open this together. There we go. Number one. So these are all chiffons that I got because, like I said, I'm draping caftan today. I think this is really nice. Perfect. Contestant number one is here. Come on down, contestant number 2. And white. Oh, this is really nice. Guys, I think these will make really nice caftans. So these are just chiffons. They are poly chiffon, so they're synthetic. And contestant number 3. Come on down. I don't know why I always look in the bag. I know what I ordered. I always look in the bag, like I think there's gonna be like $1 in the bottom or something. I don't know why I do that. Oh, and this is pretty nice. So this is not at all what I thought it looked like online, but I'm pleasantly surprised. So this one, these are just regular chiffons, just regular woven chiffons. This one is actually a crinkle chiffon. So you probably will not be able to see super well in the camera, but it has very lightly textured. But I still think this is gonna make a really beautiful caftan. All right, so I'm excited that I even received these because the mail situation was a little sketchy, but I'm gonna go ahead and get my muslin prepared, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hop on the form. I might have mentioned this before. I like draping. Where I have the form right now, she's just in between the passenger seats. She's in the cab area. She fits there absolutely perfectly. I might move her somewhere else, probably like maybe over here somewhere, because I can see, but you guys won't be able to see that. Okay, a few things have to happen before I get started on the drape, before I actually just show you guys just a time lapse. This is a woven fabric, so you're gonna wanna just cut a little piece and then you're gonna rip it. You don't want to just try to cut it to get a straight line, because this is always going to tear perfectly on grain. You might have to stretch the fabric a little bit just to make sure that it's not lopsided, but you have a better chance of getting your grain correct if you just rip it versus cutting it. Okay, so I realized that I went ahead and ripped my fabric for what I'm making and forgot to show you guys. It sounded self-explanatory, but you know what? We're on YouTube, so this is a visual aid. So what I did is I went over to the form and I measured exactly how long I wanted my garment to be. I gave it a few extra inches just for mistakes and so I could fold stuff over and have a little bit more to work with. But I'm gonna give you just a quick example. So let's grab this pencil over here. So let's say that we want this to be 1 inch, right? Really easy. I'm just gonna mark off 1 inch. We are gonna grab some scissors, unlock these, do just a little snip, and then we're gonna just okay, so we've got about 1 inch strip all the way around. This is perfectly even because I already ripped my piece. But a lot of times if you're just starting, let's say that you went to Joann's and they cut a piece of fabric and they go through great lengths to try to put it in that little groove and make sure it's straight. It's not straight, it's probably not on grain. So the first piece you're gonna rip, you'll rip it just like this. You might have where one end is really big and the other end is really small. But from then on, this should all be on grain for you. All right, the other thing that I'm gonna do, and my college professors would be quite proud of me, is I'm going to pick a crosswise thread and a lengthwise thread in order to clearly mark my grain. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because once I get it on the form, you know, the threads in here are so small, you're gonna have trouble making sure that you're actually draping it on grain. And if you make a mistake here, you're gonna actually make a mistake with your pattern, and then you're gonna transfer that same mistake into the actual garment. So we really wanna make sure that we get this right. All right, hopefully this is actually zoomed in enough for you to see. All I did was I made a little mark. For me, I wanted to hit around the bust line, so I measured up on the shoulder next to the neck. I again gave myself maybe an extra inch, and I measured about 11 inches down. All I'm doing right now is purposely making a snag on the warp and the weft of the fabric, and then I'm just gonna trace it out with like a pencil or something like that, just so I have some clear visual markers for myself in order to keep the grain line straight once I'm on the form. This is probably one of the more tedious steps This is a great time to put on a podcast or something on YouTube and just have it on in the background while you work. This is one of those steps that you're going to want to do in order to make sure that, you know, it works out for you later. This is a step that will pay off down the road. A little bit further in, this is also an amazing time to pull out. I told you guys about that ring light that I got at the dollar store. It was not $1, but I think I maybe paid 10 or less for that. This might be a little hard for you to see in person, just if your eyes are tired or it is something really small, if you have any kind of vision issues or anything like that. This ring light is incredibly helpful. All we need to get started is the fabric that we've already marked off, so now we know where our grain lines are. I have a pencil so that I can design on the muslin, and just some quilting pins. So let's get to it. So you might be wondering, why did I put this little strip of fabric right in the middle? And it's really because this is not a super fitted garment and we don't want it to sink in the middle and it'll have just like a weird fit in the chest area. So that's why we do this little piece of fabric here to just float it over that space. One thing you can also see too is these guidelines here. I took this guideline and I lined it up with about the bust area. But having these lines here, it helps me kind of get an idea of how the drape is going to go, and it lets me see if it's straight or not. This is going to be a really kind of flowy garment, so I'm going to cut it on grain, but the lines just kind of help me figure out what's going on with the fabric. So sometimes it'll be kind of messy. I'll make really kind of faint tick marks with the pencil just till I figure out like what do I want the neckline to be. We'll probably just have like one little seam down the side. This is going to be a pretty easy sew, pretty easy drape. But anything I draw on here, I will take my curvature tool and I'm gonna clean it up, and then I will try it on. And if I think the neckline is too high or too low, I'll just make an adjustment and then I'll trim it back, and then I will have the front pattern piece. I'm gonna do the same thing in the front that I do in the back. We've marked out the fabric. I'm gonna drape it in the back, and then it'll give me an idea. I'll have one whole half side of my caftan, and that will give me a really good idea of how I think it's gonna fit. That will give me a good idea of what my pattern pieces will look like, because I'm really only gonna have 2 pattern pieces. I'm not doing a facing or anything like that. The facing, you're gonna end up doing a flat draft for that if that's something that you want to do. I won't show it in this video because I don't want a facing in this. I'm probably just going to use a strip of bias cut fabric in order to sew around the inside. hope you enjoyed watching me drape that caftan on the form. I think it's going to be really pretty in some of the fabrics that I showed you guys earlier in the video. And I really just wanted to show you guys what it's like for me draping in here on the form. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on this gloomy and now kind of windy day, if you can hear that. I had a great time draping in here like I always do. I'm glad I got to share it with you guys. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, if you want to know what it is like to work in here, or if you have any other questions about draping or anything like that. I thought this was a great project to show you guys, and I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like. I have some super fun videos coming up because it is almost time for us to hit the road. So I'm super excited to share that with you guys later, but otherwise I will see you guys next time. So please go forth, be kind, be creative.